Hello, friends. I welcome you to episode 5 of Grief Support. Through this series, my intention is to provide a sense of belonging, offer comfort, and understanding about grief. This series also will work to validate feelings and provide new insights on how to move beyond your grief and loss. The title of our today's episode is Signs and Symptoms of Grief and Loss. There are circumstances in which people experience a significant loss, and for some, this can be a life changing event. In these circumstances, there are signs and symptoms that will indicate that an individual is going through grief or loss. Now, why I chose to share the symptoms of grief and loss, friends, is with a twin objective. The first objective is to make you a little more aware of grief and what all we may experience, specifically when we lose someone very close to us. The second objective is to also let you know that if these symptoms you find in someone close to you, it could be your neighbor, your friend, someone from your community, or any known acquaintance who you think is in need of help, you could help them with the needed support. But you could never do that unless we ourselves learn that somebody is grieving. Grief is a very complicated emotion, and specifically to personal loss, it may not be something which we can put and encapsulate in words. The signs and symptoms that I would like to share are also not a final list of it. There could be more, but these are the most common ones found in people grieving after a personal loss. The more grief aware you become, the more easier it will be for you to handle your grief. So let me share with you these 7 symptoms. The first one is irritability. So if you find your own self or any of your friends or a known person being way too reactive to things, even those things which do not merit a very strong emotion or reaction, understand that there is something beneath the person who's responding in an irritable manner. The second symptom is anxiety. Oftentimes, anxiety is considered a mental ailment. However, when we go through grief and loss, staying anxious and uncertain is because after a personal loss, a human mind is mostly occupied with the memories of the person who we have lost. And a major loss, like a personal loss, sometimes can make one think how uncertain life is. This same uncertainty can then give rise to an anxious state of mind. So the anxiety that you experience when you are going through a personal loss is not any kind of a mental ailment, but instead a natural response to the grief that you have just experienced. The third symptom is mood swings. Oftentimes, after a personal demise of someone or having experienced a personal loss, even though with time we move on, but there will be occasions like a specific date, a festival, or an event that might remind us of the person who we lost. It can be in a positive and in a negative way, and this can have the power to suddenly change our mood. These are the mood swings that I'm referring to here. So if in case you've been through a personal loss and you find yourself amidst work, and suddenly you also find yourself getting very, very emotional, all choked, wanting to cry, need a place where no one is around you. Understand that it's all normal. You're just grieving, and there's nothing wrong with your mental health. The fourth symptom is anger, a very common misunderstood emotion. Some people try to vent out their frustrations by demonstrating that in being very angry on things that may not merit so much of anger. So if you find yourself getting angry on things that you couldn't do, or on people, or on things that you wish had worked the way you wanted it to be, understand that there is some complex grief at play. The fifth symptom is feeling guilty. This is the most interesting part of grief, specific to personal loss. There will be times where the person who has left us, we may not really have a very negative experience with them. And there will be times when we may recollect, I wish I had spoken to this person or had cleared the air. I wish I had not said this, or I wish I had really sorted this out. So, guilt is a very intense part of grief. So, if you feel guilty of not having shared what you actually wanted to, guilty of those unresolved conflicts and unspoken words, understand it's absolutely normal to feel this way. The sixth and seventh symptoms of grief are changes in eating habits and changes in sleeping habits. So if you find yourself overindulgent in food, specific to a lot of sugar, and even in sleeping habits, trying to distract yourself by binge watching, staying awake for late for like almost on a constant basis, or waking up late, all these are signs and symptoms of grief. Friends, grief, as I mentioned in my previous series, is what something specific to personal loss we all experience at different times in our life. And it's very, very connected to the person and the relation we share with that person who we have lost. So our memories, our feelings, our emotions basically would stem from the kind of rapport and the kind of relationship that we have held with the person who we have lost. These symptoms are just the basic ones, the most commonly found in people who are grieving. And the idea here is to let you know none of these indicate that you have any kind of mental health ailment. However, if you find yourself, even after a good amount of time, that more than these symptoms run, you're stuck in life, you feel you really need to understand and get out of the vicious circle that you find yourself in with complex emotions, thoughts, you think you need clarity or direction, I recommend you seek help. The same principle applies to if in case you find any of your friend or acquaintance going through these symptoms for a brief period, which is fine, but having been stuck in it, then ask them to seek help. The more grief aware we are, the more easier it becomes for us to deal with this complex emotion. We cannot do away with it, neither can we in any way avoid it. But what we could best do is deal with it in a more effective way. And that's what I intend. I close this episode by letting you know I've also shared a link to a grief support group that I have formed. If you ever want to be part of it, you could just enroll using the link shared. Reach out to me, call me, speak with me, and share your grief. I shall try my best to assist you with methods and techniques that can help you deal with the most complex emotions in a most effective manner. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.